everybody, how are you today? Are you the person that you believe yourself to be? Or maybe you're the person that others are telling you you are. That can mean living up to something, or it can mean living down to something. As I've moved through my life, I've certainly found that there are times when I've been heard more, and there are other times when I've been heard less. My name is Karen Brown. I'm the publisher and editor of The Oldish, and as always, it is my pleasure to welcome you here today. Now, we see and hear a lot from older adults who have their opinions dismissed because they're older. They're diminished at work, they're criticized for taking too long, for driving too slowly, and yes, the odd time because all of us, as we get older, forget why we walked into the room. Hopefully we remember later. Anyway, it's called ageism, and it's a type of discrimination, and it's discrimination based on age. It's also stereotyping because somebody can look at you, decide that you are in a certain age range, and just decide that A, B, and C are not things that you'd be interested in or capable of doing. Discrimination. Are you subjected to that? Have you had the experience of being dismissed because it is assumed that you're too old? Did you maybe not get that job or that promotion at work because the age demographic in the company skews younger? Remember I was telling you the other day I was watching a series called Younger. It's on Prime. It's either Prime or Netflix, and it's about a woman in her 40s who couldn't get a job. And when she reworked her resume to indicate that she was 27, she got a job lickety-split. That's ageism. Imagine ageism being applied to somebody who's only in their 40s. Anyway, the other day I shared an article from The Oldish onto our Facebook page, and it was about how we're adapting to have the ability to live longer and to adjust the style that we live according to our age. I want to take a look at it with you today because the comments were really interesting. There were a lot of them. This is the article. Older adults are increasingly overcoming the physical challenges of aging with the help of medical advances and staying mentally engaged by learning new things, making a contribution to their communities, and avoiding social isolation. So science has figured out how to keep us living longer, not necessarily better, but definitely longer. How do you make use of that time? Clearly a subject that people like because there have been a lot of engagements here. Over 2,000 engagements and over 9,000 people have read the article. So I wanted to take a look at some of the comments because I found these really interesting. So here's Carolyn, who says she does her own housework, vacuuming, laundry, making bed, homemade meals, etc. That all counts as exercise. Did you know that? Housework, gardening, it all counts toward your exercise in a given day. Gerald says longevity can be a problem. It runs in her family. Nobody dies before 90. Interesting. Now, she also says, or he, I apologize, I don't know if it's a woman or a man, at the end of their journey, the majority said, I'm tired of living. I'm sure that represents a substantial pool of people. Our age does tend to catch up with us, and we know from data collected from healthcare centers that we use the majority of our healthcare dollars in the last few years of our life. So hopefully you can stay healthy as long as possible and look forward to that time in your life. Little Bear says attitude is key. Perfect. And she likes to take longevity advice from people with experience instead of fad promoters. That is a really, really good point. So many fads come up, this diet or that exercise. Look to what has worked over the decades. Diets like the Mediterranean diet are constantly at the top of their game. They're being chosen as number one. And exercises that involve movement, Tai Chi has stood the test of time, yoga as well, plain old walking. Just walking, moving your body. It's also very important. Let's go back to these comments. Got to do what needs to get done. Yes. Ads for services companies pick and choose. Okay, so that speaks to safety, picking and choosing the services. And Jean indicates that's implying you can afford such services. This is true. This is true. Not too many people can actually afford to bring the long-term care facility to their own home. So that is absolutely true. Glenna says she takes care of her house inside and out, cuts the grass, pressure washes the outside. She stained her deck last summer. She does exercises inside, and I presume does them outside when she can. Many of her friends and neighbors are a lot younger, and it bugs me when they say, should you be doing this at your age? How often do you hear that? How often do you personally hear that from somebody? Should you really be doing that? Really? You've got to be careful. What has age got to do with it? I'll keep on keeping on till I can't anymore. Glenna, high fives to you. Love that attitude. Pat says, keep moving and stay positive and eat healthy. Yep, Susie's playing Scrabble cards and she's painting to engage her mind. Diane says, move, take a walk, do chair yoga. Be glad you have another day. I like that attitude too, Diane. That's great. Nia says, your body wasn't made to last that long. Well, you know what? There are scientists who are disagreeing with that and saying that your body was actually made to live far longer. I think I tend to fall on your side a little bit more, Nia, because our bodies are a peculiar thing, and they do tend to wear out, don't they? Knees wear out, backs wear out. Yes. Tom says there are lots of things that older people can do. 100%. And GH says, as long as I can do things for myself. Yes. And then she wants to check out. Yeah, I think a lot of people think that. I certainly want to stay healthy until I'm not anymore. Once I'm not healthy, that's a problem. I certainly don't want to be a burden for anybody. Geneva says, I'm 64. I still work. And for the past 5 years, I've been able to work from home. Yes, that's the best. No more traffic. No more commuting. That's great. No more sitting in traffic. Yes, I've boosted my exercise with more walks with my dog. Your dog probably loves you for that, and she's going to boost it some more this year. I plan on working in some capacity until my 80s. Good for you. Jean, though, says she's the odd one. She has no interest in living to my 80s or 90s, much less beyond. Jean, I'm sure you represent a community of people. 100%. She drives somebody else's car when she's allowed. She lives in a subsidized apartment where my freedoms are few. I struggle to pay my bills. I have no family. Life is hard. God bless you. I'm sure you are not alone in our viewership. There are certainly people at both ends of the spectrum, and you represent a very legitimate end of that spectrum. I certainly hope that you're able to find a little bit of joy every day. I do. I hope something makes you smile. Helen says, true, use it or lose it. Mary takes care of her house. Sharon just is not sure how old she wants to become. Tina says it's a terrible idea. Tina, I love you. That's great. Dawn says, boomers will overcome. Yes. Yeah, well, Tim didn't like the article so much. So, that's okay. That's okay. Everybody has a different take on all of it, and you're allowed. When you get 2,000 people commenting, not everybody is going to like it, but that's why we're all able to have our different points of view. We're able to reason it out. So wherever life takes you, what I think is important, no matter what your opinion is to believe in yourself. Believe in your ability to be independent. Believe in your experiences to inform your decisions on a day-to-day basis. And it's clear that a number of our readers are doing just that. They have opinions based on their own life experiences. And you have to believe in your own judgment to understand when it's time to have help doing a particular task. I think that's really important. know what you can do and know what you can't do, and that will keep you healthier longer. I also think it's very important to have the ability to be objective in looking at the big picture. Setting ourselves up for success is ever so important. And many of us tend not to do that. As I have said very often, the logic that dictates where we live and how we live when we're in our 20s with our first job, in our 30s raising children, in our 40s, tends not to be logic that we employ when we're older. And we tend not to want to deal with the fact that life is changing for us. What will life look like when we can't drive our car? Can you get to the grocery store? Can you get groceries easily? Or are you just going to shrivel up in your house? You know, a house is just a thing. And it's very important to be advocates for ourselves, to believe in yourself and advocate for yourself to be the best you can be. So basically, you're advocating to yourself, for yourself. And those decisions are not always easy, but they really do have to be made. Quite frankly, if you don't make them, eventually somebody else will. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to set ourselves up for success so that the decisions we make for our life are able to stick with us for the longest possible time. So have that discipline. Eat a proper diet, exercise, engage with the world, and make decisions that are overall the very best for you to have the best life you possibly can. The power is absolutely 100% with you. I will leave that thought with you this week. I look forward to seeing you next week on another edition of The Oldish TV. Until then, please take care of one another and remember that it does take a village to age a senior.